Nick, no!
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
You can't handle the truth! King Kong ain't got shit on me! I am the third revelation!
I am so much crazier than you.
I am the one who knocks.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Nice thing, big boy, huh? That's private. Fucking.
Everybody on? Good. Great. Grand. Wonderful.
Welcome to Facing Off, podcast where we share our opinions about two movies we find to be similar, and we compare, contrast, and rate them. I am Gabe, one of your hosts.
And I am Nick, your other host, your
What's up,
co-host.
Nick? Yeah, thanks for getting us killed by the monster at the beginning of this.
It was no problem at all. This can of kombucha was a priority for me.
Hard kombucha. Cool, man. How has everything been with you since we last spoke?
If
we didn't talk every single day.
Talk every day. Yeah, it's good. Everything's good. Yeah, I mean, I get breaks off from work sometimes, and they're good. Breaks are good.
Breaks are good. Pills are good.
Breaks are good.
Nice.
Yeah, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. Doing all right.
Getting ready for the holiday season. You done your Christmas shopping?
Oh, I need to. Yeah.
Started thinking about that the other day, and I was like, uh-oh.
I feel like as a Jew, I should be off the hook, like buying my Christian brother and his family their presents. But you know what? I like to spoil people. I'm a generous gal, so... So, yeah. Anyways, I guess let's just, get into this, right? Let's talk about the two movies that we're going to be facing off today, and then you
absolutely.
can give us a synopsis.
Yeah. So we're not experts on these, but we are going to spoil these movies. So if you do not want spoilers for A Quiet Place or Bird Box, stop now, because I'm about to spoil them. So this afternoon, like I said, we're going to discuss Bird Box and A Quiet Place. These are two movies in which the heroes of the movies must mute one of their senses in order to survive a doomsday scenario. In A Quiet Place, John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, Krabluntski, as we'll call them, must help their small family navigate a future in which the Demogorgons from Stranger Things take ear steroids and hitchhike to Earth on a meteoroid. Meteorite?
Yeah.
Meteorite. Right. Meteorite. Right.
Is that how it happens?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't pay attention.
Dude, it's in the newspapers. There, the Demogorgons on ear steroids eat everyone who makes too much noise. So if they were here right now, Gabe would be the first one dead for sure.
Oh, yeah. I talk way too loud. I am an idiot.
John Krasinski sacrifices himself so his daughter, who is deaf, can kill all the monsters with shitty homemade hearing aids. So that's A Quiet Place. Bird Box is the story of Julia Roberts helping her child and another lady's child navigate a world in which...
Julia Roberts? It's Sandra Bullock.
Oh my God, it's Sandra Bullock. I wrote this before I wasn't really paying attention
That's great.
much. That's
go back.
It's definitely Julia Roberts. It's
Same.
Sandra Bullock. They're the same lady.
Sandra Bullock.
So Bird Box is actually the story of Sandra Bullock helping her child and another lady's child, possibly Julia Roberts' child, who knows, navigate a world in which the Dementors from Harry Potter take the invisible serum from the Hollow Man and, and then try and cleanse the earth of anyone who sees them. So if you're unlucky enough to see the invisible Dementors, they give you vanity contact lenses from a costume store, and then you kill yourself. So Sandra Bullock gets through it eventually by joining a bunch of blind people in a blind safe haven. It's a stupid movie. So I wrote a stupid synopsis in which I didn't even know the name of the lead actress.
Yeah, okay, so the reason why we are comparing these two is that basically... the common theme is that we're in a world where monsters or aliens are around and they will kill you if you don't eliminate one of your senses, essentially.
Yeah, you gotta mute a sense or you get dead.
And so I know someone's out there, they're like, hey guys, why aren't you gonna do The Happening versus A Quiet Place or The Happening versus Turd Box? I mean Bird Box. And the reason we're not doing that is just because these two movies are pretty relevant for last year. They were two of the most popular films last year, or the most talked about ones, and they're pretty similar when you break them down. You know, it's kind of a common theme. There's another one on Netflix, I think called The Silence with Stanley Tucci.
Yeah.
Tucci Gang.
Tucci Gang. It looks like that one looks like the birds from the movie The Birds don't have any feathers and also have more teeth, but they kill you if you talk too much.
Did you watch it? I haven't seen it. Oh, okay.
Well, our original draft of this was going to include all three of these movies,
or four. We were going to do like a big clusterfuck, but
we didn't even have the stomach to rewatch all of Bird Box. So I don't think there's any way
halfway through.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. It's absurd. So let's break these movies down. So first, our rating scale on how we rate our movies is 1 to 7, 1 being lowest and 7 being highest, 4 in the middle. And we are going to use 5 categories that we actually used in our horror episode when we did Hereditary versus Rosemary's Baby. In case you didn't listen to that, that's okay. Those are both movies that some people just don't really want to watch. We will reiterate what those are, but we're going to be doing eye candy, actoring, originality, legacy, and spooktacularity. Ooh. So, Nick, let's start it off with eye candy.
You want to dive into the river?
Oh, we're going to dive right into that river, blindfolded, dude.
Woo.
So let's start with A Quiet Place.
Okay.
Eye candy.
Shh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Eye candy, just to reiterate, is all the visual elements of the movie, whether it was visually stunning in any way, cinematography, CGI, landscape, production design, costuming. Let's start with
greenery.
Yeah. Shine shoes. Okay, so let's do eye candy for A Quiet Place.
For A Quiet Place. Okay.
Why don't you start?
Okay, so my rating for eye candy in The Quiet Place is a 5.
Yeah.
Is that what you gave it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, we agree. And so I'm going to make a point here when we talk about Bird Box, but
Make a few points.
I gave Quiet Place a 5 because there is nothing wrong with it from like a visual standpoint. Obviously, in the movie, you're like the sense that is muted. Actually, you really don't have to mute a sense. Like you shouldn't talk or make sound.
Yeah, I guess it's not a sense. It's
just your stupid mouth hole shouldn't be so loud all the time.
It's like one of the monkey emojis where the emoji is like,
where it's
like,
covering its
see
mouth.
No evil, hear no evil, say no
it's
evil.
It's like, but it covers its mouth. It's like that one.
Yeah.
But like from a visual standpoint, there's nothing wrong with the movie. It's engaging. There's my favorite scenes like from like just to watch are the ones where you see the like surveillance footage at their home
when
and
Emily Blunt is watching this.
Yeah, you can see the monsters are like the very end. We see them all like running up. Like the monsters look like the Demogorgon from Stranger Things. Like they very much do.
Mixed with like they have the hands of the prawns in District 9.
Yes, yeah, they have like those big, and it's kind of a cool monster design. Like
it is.
When
it's random.
When I first watched the movie, I didn't think that they'd show the monsters so much because of the way it was advertised. But you end up seeing like a lot more of the monsters in like a very intimate way, like in more of the movie. And it's a pretty cool monster design, but it's not anything like insane. Or like especially spectacular, but it is like the way they do the monsters is very, very interesting, and like I don't know, I really like this movie.
Yeah,
and I don't think there's anything visually that is like a negative. However, it's not spectacular. That's why I gave it a 5. Your turn.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's visually cool. I gave it a 5 as well, which is slightly above average. I would say the reason why I did that is just because I think it's a really good use of budget. This movie was made with a $17 million budget, which is honestly incredible.
Do you know how much money it made?
I'm going to talk about that in Legacy. I think just to talk about like how it's panned out well.
The Krabluntski has real thick wallets now.
Oh yeah, and they're making a sequel that's coming out probably next year.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
So we'll get into that, but I think it's expert use of budget. Like $17 million is the same as like it's like $1 million more than Dude, Where's My Car, and Dude, Where's My Car like visually aged poorly, whereas I don't think any of this is going to age poorly. No. I think the cinematography, it's not spectacular in any way, but it's good. There are really cool shots. Like when Emily Blunt is going through the house when she's in labor and the monster's coming in, like it's really well shot with tracking shots of her.
Very tense.
I do think that the monsters look kind of dumb in some ways, like kind of cool and kind of dumb. It's definitely... the way that their face like separates is almost dumb.
I liked it more the second time I watched them because I thought the same the first time, that they look kind of dumb.
I agree. Yeah, I just didn't get the design. But it is kind of, it's like half dumb and half cool the way that the face like separates and vibrates off when it's hearing sounds.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a good use of it's a good use of budget. I think the reason why their budget is that low and they were able to do it is there's only 4 actors in the movie.
Yeah.
Which is great. I mean, 2 of them are child
5.
actors, so you could pay them
5.
nothing.
They're 6. There's the old man that yells, and then
and the dead
the
lady?
first child.
Oh yeah, that's true. Fuck that kid. Yeah. And there's also like virtually no soundtrack, so you like really don't need to spend a lot. All right, so let's move on to, that's a 5 from both of us. Let's move on to Bird Box.
It's a 1 because I mean, I would honestly give it
1
a 0,
out of 7,
and it's a
that's
1.
brutal.
It's a 1 out of 7 because I want to make a point. The monsters in Quiet Place are not spectacular. They are interesting. They are serviceable. The monsters in Bird Box are not interesting. They are not serviceable.
They're non-existent.
They're non-existent. For most of the movie, it's just floating leaves.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's such a bad, it was such a bad call for that to be how the monsters were presented. Like, I can imagine them sitting down and plotting this out and thinking like, oh, it's going to be so mysterious and so interesting to have these like non-existent monsters. That's going to be so awesome. And it just does not translate. It ends up looking so stupid and so uninteresting, and it pulls you out of the movie because you're not engaged by these, what could be very scary monsters. The effect they have on people is terrifying, and it's not presented in a terrifying way. It's almost campy or distracting.
Yeah, I agree. I think they kind of like dug themselves a little hole when they did that. I'm going to give it a 2. I don't think it's visually creative in any way.
No.
It's not necessarily awful to look at. I have to point out, this is something that bothers me. I don't like the lighting in it. The lighting kind of makes it seem like a fake movie. Like everything, it's dark and it has certain colors that it just doesn't work well for my eyes.
Okay. I can kind of see what you're saying. Yeah.
The cinematographer's name is Salvatore Totino, and he did.
You need to put a little oregano on that, dude.
Salvatore Totino, dude, that's like racist. I'm sorry to all you Italians listening to us. He did Spider-Man Homecoming and Everest, which are both like visually pretty clever movies. They're well done.
Yeah.
I just think it's kind of basic. None of the visual aspects of it add to the mystery, and that hurts the movie.
Not at all.
This is only a $19.8 million budget, which I'm very shocked that Netflix did that. It ended up being one of their most...
How much did they pay Julia Roberts, though?
She's not in it. They paid her $10 million not to be in this movie. It is strange. I think most of that money went to the cast. The cast is crazy, so we should definitely talk about acting next.
Yeah.
So that I'm gonna give it a 2. I think one scene that doesn't work for me is like when chaos ensues in the town once they leave the hospital. It looks horrible with all the like explosions.
It's so fast.
It's so fast. It looks weird. I don't know. Let's move on.
The Dementors that take the Hollow Man serum.
They're essentially Dementors, except for you could see Dementors.
Yeah, that's why they take the Hollow Man serum from the movie Hollow Man.
Well, technically speaking, Muggles can't see Dementors, so don't even need to take this.
look
Yeah,
at
maybe
that.
they're all Muggles. So that's a 2 for me and a 1 from Nick.
Yeah.
A brutal 1 out of 7.
It's
Let's
not
move on
brutal.
to acting.
All right.
And let's start with Bird Box since we're on it.
Okay. Well, Julia Roberts is really good. I can't believe I did that.
That's hilarious.
The acting,
I can.
the acting is. I gave it a 3 because there are too many things that take you out of the performance. What's her face? Salazar. Something. What's her first name? Alita Battle Angel. The Battle Angel from Alita Battle Angel.
I have it written down. Rosa Salazar.
Rosa Salazar is not a bad actress, but she's terrible in this. She's the like cadet woman. You're going to talk about Machine Gun Kelly, I am sure, so I'll just skip over him, but
Yeah, please
big
do.
thumbs down
Yeah.
for me, for him. And the only kind of saving grace is that John Malkovich plays an excellent dickbag.
Yeah.
And
He's always great. You can put him in the
and
worst movies.
Sandra Bullock is just trying.
Yeah.
Just trying to not suck at acting in this. I mean, but it's not like the writing or the directing give them too much of the tools necessary to give a performance. And that's what acting is.
Yeah.
Are the performances believable? Do the actors give their best in our opinions? And then do the writers and the directors give them the tools to give the best performances? And for me, it's a 3, and it's only not a 2 because Sandra Bullock and John Malkovich.
Yeah. Well said. I'm going to give it a 2. So below average, like well below average. I think that Malkovich is obviously great. I love him in everything. He has like a dumb Russian accent in the movie Rounders, and it's a wonderful character. The only part that didn't work for me was when he was like drunk acting in the supermarket. He did that one shout that was kind of funny, but like it's not good. Sandra Bullock is trying really hard, and I don't really like Sandra Bullock. I'm going to talk about that later. But I think that she's really trying with a really awful script.
Yes.
And especially in the first scene when she's like, you are boy and you are girl.
Oh my God.
I just think that one thing that we talk about in this is like how believable the characters are. And I don't think they make you care about the characters.
No.
I don't care about her in the first scene because she's being low-key abusive to these kids because she's like trying to protect them.
She's
but
a very unlikable character.
Yeah, she's like so indifferent about what's happening in the world as like an artist.
I mean, even from the beginning of the movie, in the scene with her and her sister Sarah Paulson.
That's what I'm
where
talking about. She's like so indifferent about everything.
where she's like getting an ultrasound. She's just like, well, I haven't been able to like eat very much with this condition or whatever she says. And she's like,
oh yeah.
The doctor's like, well, it's called pregnancy. You can say the name. And
Oh
it's
my
like,
God.
oh my God, dude. She just called it
A condition?
A condition?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of evil lady is this? And then you just find out that she's just like, oh my God.
Yeah, there's just like, it doesn't help.
She's
Like,
not
that's
likable.
not good character writing. There's
No.
no development really.
The protagonist of the story is an unlikable, like,
Right. And then, and not,
mean person.
yeah. And then not only is there like John Malkovich in it, you have like a lot of really good actors. There's Jackie Weaver, Academy Award nominated Jackie Weaver, is great in Animal Kingdom, the movie that Nick and I both love. And why is she even in this? She has like almost no lines. She doesn't do anything. I really like Trevante Rhodes. He was great in Moonlight, but like, the only thing I do still like about him in Bird Box is I do believe in the romance between them. I think like they just have really good flirty scenes. But then you have people like, why is Machine Gun Kelly in this movie? Why did Netflix pay Machine Gun Kelly to be in like 5 movies? Because he has more. He already has The Dirt. He has more coming out.
He's got a good agent.
Yeah, I guess so. I also like Lil Ray Howery is funny. I think that his character kind of works. His character's underwritten, but you kind of need, just like in Get Out, you need someone commenting on the absurdity of things. Like, I like that aspect of him, but him explaining everything that happens is just dumb. And maybe we'll get into that in originality. I'm going to give it a 2. I also think B.D. Wong is like inexcusably terrible in this movie.
Lots of actors are only used for a very short amount of time, too. I
Right,
mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like Jackie Weaver, Sarah Paulson.
B.D.
like,
Wong. All
Yeah.
3 of them, they barely appear.
And I think
Even
that's
John Malkovich to an extent. He does not even in the movie for that long.
Right. And then the one crazy guy that they let in does a good acting performance. He's
Yes,
always
he
good,
is.
but like whatever.
Yeah.
Let's move on to acting.
Before we move on, you want to highlight the horse line?
Oh yeah.
I think it goes in this section.
Oh man, there's this one part when she's like she's getting her
The
ultrasound
scene.
Her sister is like talking about how when horses get pregnant, it knows right away. It changes the way it eats. It changes its gait. It says all that. And then she goes, "It would have been great to have been a horse. We would have had a mother who actually raised us." Ew.
Like
Dumb writing. That's bad writing.
So bad.
And
That's
then
such bad writing.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Like they were like the writers were like, "Oh, we need to introduce that these two are like this because their mom was not good, huh?" And then they're like, "Oh, we'll just throw it into the horse scene."
Right, like that was their connecting theme.
Ugh,
It's dumb.
it's dumb.
Let's move.
All right.
So that's a 1 from. Wait, what was yours? A 3 from Nick and a 2 from me.
Yeah.
Let's do acting for A Quiet Place. Why don't you start?
I gave it a 6.
Okay.
There's not a whole lot of speaking in the movie. It almost seems like I was rewatching it and I couldn't really remember when they start speaking, but they do start talking at a certain point.
Yeah.
After the kid freaks out because John Krasinski starts talking and he's like, "No, son, the river's loud."
Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah.
I don't know, something about that kind of cracked
A
me
Native
up.
American.
I know.
Yeah.
It's good. I mean, there's no performance in it that is not good. And in the case of Emily Blunt, her performance is excellent.
It's unbelievably good.
So I gave it a 6. I don't have anything negative to say about it, but it's not like perfect. There are child actors involved, so, you know.
Yeah, it's actually interesting because one of the child actors is Noah Jupe, who is in Honey Boy. He's great in Honey Boy.
Oh,
this
is he in
year.
that?
Yeah, he's the one who
Wow.
plays young Shia when he's in Even Stevens, and then he's also in Ford versus Ferrari, and he's not great in that, but he's fine. He's a serviceable young actor. He
Yes.
kind of is a little too absurd in this, in his fear, but I think he has like a health condition as well. At least at the beginning, or I think he's sick at the beginning.
Yeah. But I mean, he has every right to be terrified.
Right. Of course. And Millicent Simmons, the girl, I love that they cast in an actually deaf girl to play that character. I think it really works for it. It especially works that they have to be speaking sign language the whole time.
Yeah.
She's good. She's kind of annoying as a character, but I understand her issue is that she feels guilt over the death of her brother, and she doesn't feel like her father loves her because of the way he reacted to that.
Right.
John Krasinski is also good. He has like the perfect face for a concerned dad with the lines in his forehead. Mm-hmm. And he's just like, you just believe in it. He's such a good movie dad. You really believe in it. Also,
it's a movie
I mean,
daddy.
the main thing that brings it to a 6 instead of a 5, because it's not like, powerhouse performances overall. It's Sandra Bullock. And it takes a lot. What?
Do you mean Emily Blunt?
Oh, damn it. Julia Roberts. Emily Blunt is so incredibly good in this movie. And
She's so
and
good.
It's so difficult to portray the amount of emotion that she does without having many speaking lines.
It's incredible.
The whole sequence when she's in labor going to the bathtub, it's unbelievable what she does. Her shout is so believable. Whereas John Krasinski's shout when he finally lets it out to like sacrifice himself is almost hilarious.
It's almost comical.
I wrote it down as like, yeah, it's maybe I wrote it down somewhere else. It just like, but you just really believe in these characters, and they're both so good. So it's a 6 for both of us.
Yeah.
Let's move on to originality. Originality is basically like how creative the movie was. Did it need to be made? If it was based off of other source material, did it really need to be made? And like, did it add something to the written text? So why don't we start with A Quiet Place?
Okay. I want you to go first on this one.
Okay. I think that A Quiet Place is a 6.
Okay.
Obviously, movies like The Happening had come out before, and like other movies where you have to be quiet, and there's like silent films that are great. I just think that as opposed to like a natural like silent movie or something like The Artist that's like talking about like silent films, I think that its usage and like reliance on physical acting and the way that they make the whole movie, when you see it in the trailer, you don't really believe that it's going to be like all silent. But it is. No. It's almost jarring when you're watching it on like how quiet it is.
Something I wrote down is it's incredible because I don't actually think that the sound in this movie is louder than the sound in other movies.
No.
But because so much of it is silent, when there is a lot of noise in the movie, it automatically highlights that scene and becomes, like you said, it's like very jarring whenever there's any sort of sound in this movie. You're immediately like,
right. It's like, we'll talk about it in spooktacularity, but it's something that brings in the thrill. It's like the jump scares really work. They're effective because of the elimination of sound. And it makes you so focused. I remember, like, you didn't even, like, want to, like, eat something in the movie theater.
Right.
Out of fear of ruining it.
I never saw it in theaters.
Oh, I saw it in theaters. It was really fun. It feels like a contained thriller. I really like contained thrillers.
Yeah.
Like Buried or like Lock, the movie with Tom Hardy that takes place all in a car ride. Things like that. There's a movie called The Guilty that they're remaking with Jake Gyllenhaal that is great for that too.
Jakey G.
I just think we both love Jake Gyllenhaal. I just think there's really clever twists with the noises and the tension. I especially really love the scene. There's just so many little things like barriers to them surviving that I think work. Like one scene that I really like is when the son and the daughter fall into the silo and they're like drowning in the corn.
Oh my God, dude. I forgot how terrifying that scene is.
It's a really
what a horrible way to go.
Terrified scene. Yeah, it's so cool.
To just drown in dry wheat or whatever.
Should we talk about like what doesn't work, like why it's not a 7? Because like I have a few questions about the writing of the movie.
I originally wrote down a 4, which I think is too harsh because I was like, I don't really know like what is necessarily original about the movie, but I guess it's just that it's so quiet. So I mean, I bumped it up to a 5.
Okay.
Because I think that it's that aspect of it makes it original, but I think like, the monsters aren't a super original looking monster. They're well done, but they're not like amazing. The way that the backstory of the monsters, I really like, but I don't think it's original. You kind of have to figure it out by reading things on the screen. I don't think that John Krasinski's little whiteboard where he's like, it's
literally like simple things like,
what's the weakness?
They hear well. It's like a very simple thing.
It's like ears are good.
Yeah, and he like circles. It's like armor circled.
Yeah, and it's like it's just that like some of the things like that, like they don't seem necessarily original. However, I will talk about that when we talk about spooktacularity in my rating there. But
my issue with the movie is that, and this comes in originality, is that I'm left with a lot of questions. 1, why would you have a baby? I get that they lost their son, but do you realize the strain you're putting your family under having a baby? A baby is noisy all the fucking time. It's a risky thing.
It's incredible that the baby doesn't really cry after it's
It kind of does, but like,
It does, but not really. Not like a newborn baby would.
You have all the plan B and like contraceptives and stuff in birth control in the world. You could just go to a pharmacy and grab all that shit. Unless you have to make it. I also like, I don't get how the monsters really work. Like, how are they not constantly freaking out at noises like creak sounds and stuff? If it was a monster that's searching for sounds, does it just get used to those sounds? Because I don't really get that. I also just like, I don't understand what the monsters want. Like, they came here and like, do they just want to eat?
I'm not that bothered by that. It's implied.
Well, I still gave it a 6.
It's implied that they arrive on a meteorite, and you could then
they just want to conquer.
You could then just suppose that they accidentally showed up here on this meteorite, and then we're like, well, I'm a living creature, and I gotta eat, and dang, all these loud as shit people are tasty.
I know, right?
And so it just snacks.
Yeah,
all the time.
I guess that's kind of fair. I mean, I just felt like I left the movie being like, why for a lot of it. And but one thing that does push it to a 6 that I didn't mention, it's a really well written family drama.
Yeah,
beyond just
definitely.
being like a thriller.
Yeah, I'm not too bothered by that stuff. I think it's just more that I don't necessarily think that
It's that creative.
like outside of the silent thing is that it's all that creative.
Okay.
However, yeah, I'll talk.
We'll
I
talk
have
about-
more to say when we get to spooktacularity. But
Yeah.
let's do Legacy.
No. Let's move on
let's
to
do Bird
originality
Box.
for Bird
Duh,
Box.
fine.
So I'll start with this. I gave Bird Box in originality a 1 out of 7.
Ooh, why?
okay.
I gave it a 3. So I mean, it's not like I think it's amazing.
I had it at a 2. I moved it down to a 1. I just don't really think it needed to be made. I know that it was really successful for Netflix, but I don't think it added anything. I think that A Quiet Place added something. They brought in this family drama. Like, I think it's a well-written movie. It's creative in that way. I think
and
this
you
is
get,
based off
you
of a
get
book.
Krabluntski together, dude.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Which is
We never
great.
really seen them on screen together, I guess.
I don't think so. They're
God,
probably
they're
in
such a
something.
Great couple.
Email
I just
us.
believe in them.
Email us what movies they've been in together.
Yeah. Or I'll just look it up on IMDb after.
Yeah.
So I think Bird Box was based off of a book. So that's even more like I don't think that
book
the
box.
Yeah, I guess that's what it's
Bird
called.
book box. Bird box.
It's just
book.
that we already had A Quiet Place in that year. We had, which isn't really fair because they might have been in development at the same time. We had The Happening. I guess it's a little different than both and interesting in its own way, but it doesn't really stand out with any ideas or mysteries. And I don't really think anything is creative in the story. Like even the concept of birds like detecting things, like a canary in a cave, is not that clever. I thought it was really well done in the movie Arrival, whereas in this one, it's not even important. You don't really know why they chose to call the movie Bird Box. The box doesn't matter. I think in the pitch meeting that Screen Rant talks about, they're like, well, like, the whole concept of the birds and how they work with it just doesn't really work. Like, why would you need to keep it in a box or any of that?
Does Sandra Bullock find the birds in a supermarket?
There were birds in that supermarket. They were just like saving them, I guess, because they were creatures. They had them in the cart.
What kind of
and that's-
supermarket also sells birds?
Yeah, I guess like a Petco. I don't know.
They're not in a Petco. They're in like a Safeway.
Well, it's like a giant market. It's like, think of it like a
Dude,
Target type
I think
place.
that's illegal. I don't
Yeah.
think you can sell.
Oh yeah, you can't sell them
dirty pet birds and
Birds
and
carry
like
so many
fucking
diseases.
cucumbers in the same area.
Yeah. Yeah, probably not. I just like none
No.
of the ideas in the movie are creative in any way.
Fake news. It's a 1.
Yeah.
No, I gave it a 3 because I do think that the idea of Bird Box could have been good. I think what's the actor that's in Get Out? What's his name?
Lil Ray Howery.
So I think his character's explanation of like all of these ancient religions in which there's some sort of like harbinger of like death that comes to you and shows you like something and then cleanses the earth of like that idea could be cool in a movie. It's just
Right.
that they butchered it.
Yeah.
It is so poorly executed that it just is like everything that is original about it that in my mind would give it a 3 out of 7 rating is just butchered. So it can't get any higher than that. Like it's just,
It's not even just that for me. It's that, like, even the terror part of it, like the scene where everyone's freaking out in the streets and stuff and killing themselves. I've seen that twice. I've seen that in The Happening, though it was terrible in that, and I've seen that in The Andromeda Strain. It's almost the same exact thing. So none of that was interesting or new or creative to me. And then even the whole concept of having, like, crazy people be the ones that are, like able to survive because
Yeah.
nothing can make them crazy or they already want to kill themselves. So like, what is this going to change?
yeah, they just become like prophets of the invisible
Monster,
Dementors.
yeah. It's beautiful. Why don't you take a look? It's beautiful.
I want you to see it. Yeah. I want you to see it.
Like, if you want to see crazy people like losing their mind and like killing people, the movie The Crazies is like a good version of that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, it gets a 1. I didn't find any of it clever.
So a 1 and a 3.
A 1 and a 3.
Let's move on to Legacy. Oh,
Yeah.
look at that rhyme, baby.
Oh.
Freestyling.
You're a
I'm better
poet,
than
and you do know it.
I'm better than Machine Gun Kelly already.
Oh yeah, fuck you, Machine Gun Kelly. So legacy, we just talk about where does this stand in the history of movies? Will it age well? Are people still talking about it? Like, how were the reactions to the movie? You know, outside of just our own reactions.
Okay.
So let's talk about Bird Box. Why don't we?
Okay, so I'm going to take the Kane Holloway approach to rating Legacy here and give it a 5 because I think it's the Room of horror movies. There's worse. No, there's way more the Rooms of horror movies, but it's one of them because it's a turd.
Yeah.
And people talk about turds.
Yeah.
People like to talk about turds.
I'm giving it a 3. I want to give it a low one because in my mind, its legacy is just terrible. Like, I just want to forget it. But I do talk about it a lot.
You do.
And so
you have a nickname for it and everything.
People also loved this movie. They really loved it.
Who are you? Show yourselves.
Netflix said that 45 million accounts watched Bird Box on its opening weekend, which has to be fake. Or we're just all stupid as a society.
Or they started it and they got 30 minutes in and they were like,
Yeah, no, this is a problem.
They were like, Julia Roberts looks weird in this.
Yeah, she kind of looks like Sandra Bullock. Why didn't they just cast her? This is just a dumb joke that's going to live on forever. The legacy of this joke will live on longer than this movie. So somehow it also has like a 63% from critics on Rotten Tomatoes, which I don't get.
Hilarious.
I don't get that at all. It has a 51% on Metacritic, which is usually a lot stricter. Its success may have been manipulated by Netflix, though. It came out so this is like a really memed movie. This is one of the most memed movies ever. Especially just the meme of Sandra Bullock like blindfolded in a boat, like looking like a fool. But it came out that Netflix had bought like Twitter bots. Sorry for that double entendre there.
Bots.
And like made it trend, which is fucked up, but like that's such a Netflix thing. There's not really a lot of consensus on whether this movie is bad. I think it's awful, and I can't understand
That's
why
hilarious
it's so bad.
to me. It's a turd. It's a really bad movie.
I think most people watch it and they're like, yeah, whatever.
It's a forehead slapper the whole way through. You're just slapping your forehead like, no way.
Yeah. It is. It's kind of frustratingly so. So, I don't know. That's a 3 from me, a 5 from Nick. I mean, you have to give it credit because it does have a legacy.
And
Netflix is making a lot of movies based off of the success of Bird Box. I mean, there's even one called Earthquake Bird that maybe I'll mention later. I hear it's just bad. Let's talk about, on the other hand, A Quiet Place.
Okay,
for
so
originality.
what do you think of the legacy of A Quiet Place?
Oh yeah, legacy.
Because I kind of didn't know that they were going to actually go through with the sequel, so that kind of changes my thoughts on it. So what do you think here?
So I don't necessarily want a sequel.
Me either.
But I do think the ending allows for a sequel in a cool way, and I'm not going to be that mad. I don't like when a director comes. You know, John Krasinski had made stuff before, but like this was like his really successful movie. You don't really need to make a sequel. Here's the thing. The movie made $340 million worldwide.
That's awesome.
Off of a $19 million budget. That's crazy. It made $50 million in April. Like, April is not a good month for non-Marvel movies. And it has a sequel. So, like, people really trust in Krasinski as a director. And for good reason. He really... It was well done.
It's a great movie.
Nothing is bad about it.
No. So what was your rating in Legacy?
So I'm giving it a 5.
Okay.
Slightly above average because I don't think it's like that talked about, but even though I don't view it as like a standard horror, it's more of a thriller for me.
Yeah.
It does have a supernatural element to it with the monsters and it's filled with terror. And I think a lot of people, you know, really like movies like Get Out and Hereditary, it's really pushing forward these genres, these like horror thriller type things, or pushing forward the genre. And, you know, it didn't create a lot of memes like Bird Box. So it's hard to really read.
Yeah, it's hard to gauge its legacy. So I initially rated it a 4 before knowing that it had a sequel because I think that it just has like a kind of an average sort of following. Do I think it deserves more? Kind of, sort of, yeah. Like, I think that maybe it should have more of a legacy, so I actually didn't know they greenlit the sequel and that was going to happen. But I mean, I kind of want to move it up to a 5, but I don't know if I should just stick with my original rating because I'm like, I don't know what about it is necessarily like stuck in the psyche of everybody out there. Like it's not.
That's what. Okay, so I was gonna say that
it made a ton of money too. I didn't realize that it made. I mean,
it made
I don't
a
even
ton
know
of
the
money.
math there.
Not only that, I
20
walked out
times
of it,
its budget.
Yeah,
something like that.
I
More than
walked
that.
out of it thinking, okay, so it got a 95% from on Rotten Tomatoes. 95% of critics liked it more than they didn't like it.
Yeah.
And I walked out being like, really? You guys didn't have like any problem with this movie? I mean, I don't personally, but I was just shocked by that. So I don't know. It had like its legacy might be great because it really became like almost a prestigious movie. So I don't know. I'm going to give it a 5, slightly above average.
I'm just going to stick with the 4 because
Fair.
these are arbitrary ratings and I want to make a point.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Let's end this with spooktacularity.
Spooktacularity. What? Let's say this one on the count. Well, go ahead.
Well, no. So for like spooktacularity, just to explain.
Right.
We take our spectacularity category, which just talks about your engagement, like how engaged you were, whether you were focused on the time, whether you were distracted, or whether you were really invested. And then we mix it with like horror and thrillers, and whether it was, creepy, did it expertly use terror, or was it reliant on jump scares, or were the jump scares like perfectly timed and like well done? Were you really engaged in the mystery of the movie, and like did the plot twists like kind of creep you out, make you think a little bit?
Speaking about jump scares real quick, dude,
Yeah.
the last sip of a kombucha, talk about jump scares.
Oh yeah, it's jarring.
Yucky.
Yeah.
Oof.
It's just really bubbly and kind of gross.
And it's just like got that
What's-
gunk down there. Anyways,
I'm sorry, man. You look traumatized.
Let's
start with A Quiet Place.
Let's do our ratings for Quiet Place on the count of 3.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
6.
7.
Whoa.
Okay.
You go
I
ahead.
kind of thought you'd give it a 7 because upon rewatching this movie, the movie's an hour and a half long. Actually, I think it might just be under
Wonderful.
hour and a half.
Great. Perfect
So there's
length.
a bunch of it's perfect. There's a bunch of things that I watched this movie again, I re-rated it, and I was like, it's a 7. It's perfect. For what it is engaging the whole way through with no real lulls to me that I thought were noteworthy. It is an hour and a half of pure what is going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily terror,
tension,
but it's tension and engagement.
Yeah.
Purely for an hour and a half.
Right.
And it's a lot of it is because of its length. It is perfectly engineered for this genre. And there's a couple things that I just want to highlight in spooktacularity because I love this stuff. It is a little bit Cloverfield-y in the way that you have to piece together where the monster came from and what the monsters are. You have to read the news articles.
Right, I didn't even catch it.
You have to see that it says like meteorite crashes in blah blah blah, and then it says something about like the military can't get through their armor, and then you have to see like it's quiet, it's sound, you must be quiet, and then it's like the like front page of the New York Times is 10 tips to survive the monsters or something like that.
Right.
And you have to piece things together. You don't get any like it's just engaging all the way through. And I love monster movies like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just love monster movies. And watching this one, I was like, this is one of the best, it's just one of the best monster movies that I can think of in terms of how sucked into it you are by every element kind of coming into combining in like what I think is a pretty perfect way.
I know why it's not a 7 for me.
Why?
Because we're doing spooktacularity. This is my issue. I love monster movies too, but I don't leave even though it's not a horror movie, a strictly horror movie, I don't leave the movie being kind of fucked up over the monster. My counter movie, I really love Cloverfield, the first movie. That actually kind of messed me up for a little bit because if that had happened, like if that came to the city, the movie ends in a really sad and destructive way. Like everyone dies. Sorry, spoiler alert.
They nuked the city.
It's been out for a while. But there's something about that scared me, and the fact that you don't see the monster very often in Cloverfield is scary. And something about that kept me engaged in a horror-ish way or thriller-ish way. Whereas I don't think the monsters are scary at all in this.
No, they could have been done a different way to allow you a little bit more, but it would have taken away from the vision that Krasinski obviously had for how this movie was going to look.
Right. And I don't... Okay, so I'll tell you why it's a 6, though, and not like a 5.
All right.
It would never be a 5, but what kept me engaged, I did like a little timestamp of everything, how well paced this movie is in terms of tension, as you were just saying. You start with a cold open where their son dies.
Dude, I also love that it starts with day 89.
Oh yeah,
love it.
Well, it's day 89. You don't need any explanation before that, and then it jumps almost a year and like a few days afterwards.
A year and change.
And you get the stakes of the movie immediately. It's a really, really sad way that kid dies. The kid's a little bitch, but like he dies and it's sad. And John Krasinski is so close to grabbing him.
Listen to your family when they're like, don't put the batteries in your toy spaceship you found. Listen to your families.
And then 20 minutes into the movie, you get another really tension-filled moment where the kid, Noah Jupe's character, accidentally knocks over the lamp and they all freak out.
Oh my God.
And then the raccoons are outside causing noise and they're like, oh, thank God. But then you see the monster kill one of the raccoons. So you're like, oh shit, they're close by. There it is.
Yeah.
This is
I love that too. Another thing about the papers, it says 3 known in area.
Yeah.
Like they've done enough scouting to know how many monsters are nearby.
Yeah, so I don't even know why you put that on paper. Like you just know it in your head that 3 are known.
Well, they can't really talk necessarily.
Yeah, I guess so if someone else wants to see
things, yeah.
And then you get 35 minutes in, they give you just a shot of the nail sticking up, which was really dumb of her not to like... When the bag was caught on something, she didn't check it. You know what's even worse is when she steps on the nail and doesn't do anything about the nail. Someone else could have stepped on that afterwards. And so they give you that's something that it's like Chekhov's gun. You know that nail is going to have to be used at some point. And so then it's like starting at 42 minutes, it's just nonstop terror for the rest of the movie. It's not necessarily scary, but every single thing that happens once the guy starts shouting in the woods is just... when he just looks at them because he's so sad that his wife died and he's like, fuck this, I just want to die and I'm also crazy.
Yeah.
It's nonstop terror. Every single... or tension. Every single moment is crazy until the end. Like literally until the last scene where she just cocks the gun. And
dude.
I also think the score, I always got to mention, the score keeps you really engaged because there's not a lot of score in it, but when it is in there, it's beautifully done.
Used perfectly.
You know, I already talked about how great the moment is when the monster comes downstairs and the basement is flooding and she has to grab the baby before it wakes up and the monster's coming and then go behind the water. That's just like... That is the moment of horror when the monster's right outside. It reminds me exactly of Alien when the alien's right in Ripley's face.
It's a little bit like Jurassic Park: The Lost World too, where they have to go behind the water fountain and the T-Rex. Yeah.
Yep, it's great. And so I like all that. That keeps it there. It's the problem is that we made this spooktacularity, and I'm just not going to lose any sleep over the events that happened.
That's fair. I think it's perfectly paced, like you said, and I give it a 7. So
let's add it up.
Did we do spooktacularity for Bird Box? We didn't do it.
Oh, we didn't?
Did we do it? I don't think we did it.
We didn't. Let's just do it.
I really don't want to talk about it. We will just watch this. We tried to watch this movie, Gabe and I, just now. We watched an hour of it, and we were like, dude, like, we got stuff to do today.
Yeah.
Let's not.
It's 2 hours long.
It's 2 hours long. It's a half an hour longer than Quiet Place for no reason.
We talk about that all the time in spectacularity. If it's long, like, does it keep you engaged? It didn't. We got cut out of it.
It's a 2. Straight
I'm giving
up.
it a 2 also. Quiet Place is shorter, more engaging in every single second. I do have to point out, I said this to Nick as we were watching. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, like some of the best people at making scores. They make some of our favorite movies. Did the score for this, but you could barely tell.
For Bird Box.
Honestly, it was manipulative
nuts.
in a lot of scenes. It was kind of annoying.
It's nuts. It's just not an engaging movie. It's not a creepy movie. It's not a scary movie. The back and forth between the two different timelines, like in the river, 5 years in the future, like blah, 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 is just doesn't
Your point
work.
earlier is perfect about the spookiness of it. By not showing the monster, you are taking away from the terror. We don't really know the stakes. The only stakes is that you kill yourself. Like, okay, everyone has to like kind of balance that in their mind every day regardless.
Oh my God.
I'm kidding.
So dark.
But there's just
dude.
like not really any twists in the movie. It's not like...
No.
The only thing that keeps it from like a 1 is that there are... When I watched this the first time, I was like, what's going on? Like, how are they going to resolve this? What's going to happen in this?
Yeah, you want there to be something.
There's
At least
enough
the movie
mystery.
Has that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I pointed out there's a line where John Malkovich is like, when they're in the store, he's like, how is that guy still alive? And it's like, oh, maybe some people can survive when they're out in the wild. All the deaths aren't like sad or engaging because at no point do you care about any character except maybe Sandra Bullock, and you don't really. I mean, it's kind of sad when
she's mean.
It's kind of sad when her boyfriend like dies later in the future, but it's
sad.
like just because he like risks it. But then I'm like, okay, I don't know. It's engaging because it's kind of like Suicide Squad, where you kind of just have to watch it because it's like so fucking like
It's one
dumb.
of those, man.
Yeah,
But I mean,
it's like a car crash that you won't
it's
look away
twos all the way.
from. Yeah,
For me.
So that's 2s from both of us.
Right.
Oh, didn't you give a 1 for eye candy?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But mostly 2. Or no, you went all around.
I meant twos in
What's added up?
spectacularity.
What's your total for Bird Box?
14.
Damn, I gave it a 10 out of 35.
Wow, dude.
I think I gave it the same score that I gave Suicide Squad, unless I gave that a 9.
Oh, I don't know.
It's bad. It's one of my least favorite movies of the last few years.
24 out of 70 for that one.
Okay.
Combined. And then my rating for A
Quiet
Quiet Place is higher than our combined ratings for
Oh, wow.
Bird
Yeah,
Box.
same with me.
It's
Yeah.
a 28 for me.
Same with me.
Okay, look at that.
Yeah.
We're
'Cause
cute.
I think we balanced
We're
it out.
so cute.
28 out of 35 from each of us, so that's, what is that?
56.
56 out of 70, which is solid. It's not like a
Right?
fantastic movie,
Yeah.
but it's great. It's like a
great,
fun
dude.
movie to rewatch.
I'm really excited for that sequel, and
I'm excited for
I'm glad we did
everything that
this.
John
I'm very
Krasinski
glad we
does.
did this pairing.
Yeah. Who is your MVP?
Of
both of the
MVP is John Krasinski because
Yeah.
he is so bad at making hearing aids that he saves the world.
Yeah, he's the accidental MVP.
He is so bad at making hearing aids that he solves his question of what's the weakness that he
Yeah.
writes on the little whiteboard.
Right.
Who's yours?
I was gonna say Emily Blunt because her acting is so good. It's just like
And
I
that
will keep
last little
rewatching.
shotgun cock
Oh,
is
it's so
so good.
She's so good at playing a cool character. I was listening to a podcast where someone was like, if they were to make a female Bond, they should do Emily Blunt. I think that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Because Edge of Tomorrow, she's a badass. Sicario, she's a
so
badass.
good.
She's beautiful too. But I'm gonna say Krabluntski or whatever you said.
It's Krabluntski, dude.
Krabluntski, because they are such an awesome couple, and it works so fucking well.
They're
on
one of
movie
Julie
form.
and my favorite Hollywood couples.
Yeah.
Has to be.
Okay, I got a question.
Krabluntski 2020.
Oh, do you have an LVP?
LVP?
Birds.
They're not even real, dude. Birds aren't real.
Yeah.
I mean,
I love that meme where it's like true or false, are birds real? or like truth or dare.
have you seen the one where it's birds before Red Bull was invented, and like it's like pictures of birds with their wings edited off,
that's
so they're just
awesome.
floating around, and then it says after Red Bull, and then it's the pictures with wings. It's so dumb.
Yeah, Red Bull gives you wings.
It gives you wings. Get it? My LVP is the monsters in Bird Box because they are stupid.
Yeah. You
I
mean
don't-
air and wind? I hate, to be honest, I always list, when people say, what are your pet peeves? One of them is wind. I know that it's not like necessarily a pet peeve, but I hate wind. I understand that you need it for sailing and you need it to like change weather, but like, I hate wind, Nick, to a high degree. If you live in Boston or like Chicago or something,
God,
you
dude.
know how awful wind is. Wind ruins everything.
I'm crying. My
Yeah.
palms are sweaty.
Okay, I got a question for you.
Okay.
If you had to lose a sense or something, if a monster came and you had to like lose a sense or something, what would it be? Or not even a sense, like you know what I mean?
I don't know. I mean, let's see.
Smell or taste have to go.
It's got to be
right?
smell or taste. That's what I was thinking, but I like smells mostly, and I like tastes always.
Here's the
So,
problem: if you get rid of smell, then you don't.
then
taste.
you don't have a lot of taste.
Yeah.
You have
You have
some
some
taste,
taste.
but not the right kind. So it can't be those.
And if like there's a gas leak, you die. I mean,
Yeah,
they put that
you're
as
unaware
Ross.
of the leak.
As Ross Geller taught us in Friends, like that was the smell was put into gas so we know when there's a leak.
I mean, that's tough, dude. I guess it would be that sense of like when you're like nervous and your palms start sweating, like mine did before they
Arms are heavy,
quizzed me on
knees weak.
well, actually, yeah, and then my
Mom's
knees were
spaghetti.
weak, my arms were heavy. There was vomit on my sweater already. It was mom's spaghetti.
I'm gonna go with smell.
But on the surface, I looked calm and
Ready
ready.
to drop bombs. I'm gonna go with smell. You were right though. I couldn't exist in a quiet place. I would die straight
So
up
quickly,
the first
dude.
moment they came.
It
I'd be
would
like,
start, the wind would pick up. You'd be like, I hate wind, and then they just.
yeah, that's so true. Do you not? You don't have to list like top 10, but just because John Krasinski's so great in this, do you have like favorite movie dads you want to shout out?
Oh,
He's such a good
that's
movie dad.
Good question.
Actually, you know what? Let's do a podcast on movies that like a common theme is like fatherhood, and then we'll do that question.
Okay.
But we have to remember to shout out
We'll
John
do a
Krasinski.
movie daddy
Ooh,
podcast. for
daddies.
sure.
I got a mustache right now, so I look like a daddy.
It's I haven't
French
I haven't
daddy.
commented on it since you showed up at my apartment, so
I got one last question in the accolade section. Do you
Yeah.
like Sandra Bullock?
not particularly. I thought she
Nah.
was Julia Roberts on accident,
Yeah,
so that's
so
probably
clearly no.
kind of telling.
Like, she's good in Miss Congeniality and like Gravity, but something about her bothers me, and I've never liked
Her
her.
face seems plasticky. And I
Yeah.
don't know if that's like a surgery thing or just the way
No,
her
she's
face
always
is.
looked
you
that
know?
way.
I don't know.
I don't know. She's a good actress. I just don't like her.
All right, let's
okay.
we got a facelift, right?
Oh yeah. Do
We
you
got
want
a
a facelift? Okay, let's do it.
We've
for
got
Bird
a
Box.
facelift
Yeah.
Bird Box because we gave it such a low
How do we
rating.
make Bird Box better?
How do we make Bird Box better? 1, show the monsters. 2, make them interesting. 3,
Don't hire Machine Gun Kelly.
don't hire Machine Gun Kelly.
Give
4, more John Malkovich, less not John Malkovich.
Shout out Taylor Silva. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of tough to explain why Bird Box is bad.
It's like I said, it could be a cool.
Ooh.
It could be cool, but I would. So one thing is I would maybe show what the people who start to kill themselves see before they die.
True. I think that
Sooner
you would need to
rather
yeah.
than later, instead of just having Sarah Paulson go, what is that?
Or that one woman who's like, Mom?
and then she slowly crawls into a burning vehicle.
Yeah. And well, another thing, you pointed this out. Don't start the movie at the end. Like, that's not clever. They do it and it's like 6 months earlier. It's like,
I mean, like,
no, I need to
obviously-
understand what world we're in.
Yeah, obviously sometimes that works, but it's typically when the end subverts your expectations.
Yeah.
But the end of this movie is like it's like such a facepalm thing where you're like, oh, like
Oh, they go to a place for the
where everyone's
blind.
blind.
And it's in like a garden so that birds can be around them all the time so they can tell if monsters are coming.
So dumb.
Yeah,
right.
there's not much of a facelift except like make a better movie.
There's too many things to lift.
I agree.
We're not strong
Do you
enough.
have any recommendations that are like similar to this movie or these movies that people should watch? I have one that you've seen.
Which one?
Hush.
Which one is
horror
Hush? I know
movie.
I've seen
It's a
that.
horror movie. You can find it on Netflix. It has the guy from 10 Cloverfield Lane and The Newsroom.
Yeah.
It's this woman goes to she lives like kind of in a secluded place. and she's deaf. She can't hear anything. I just you guys know what that is. Yeah. So
Continue talking. That's when you make sounds with your mouth.
Right. She's deaf, and there's a guy in her like neighborhood who's killing people. He goes on a killing spree that night, like a serial killer.
Oh yeah.
And and he goes to kill her, but he's one of those like serial killers that needs to be a game to him.
Right.
And she doesn't notice him. And it's really good. Like, I'm explaining it in a horrible way, but if you want like
that is a good movie,
an easy horror thriller to watch, that one is good. It's a cool idea of like if you're deaf, you can't tell that someone is chasing after you. It works really well, and not in a funny way.
That's good. I'm trying to think of a monster movie that I would recommend, but
Monster
honestly,
Mash?
I would. The other day at work, they were playing holiday songs, and I think someone just played like a holiday playlist. So it was like Christmas songs, and then
Halloween
the
songs.
Monster Mash came on after it. I was like, dude, it's November.
Yeah.
Anyways, I would recommend that everyone just go back and rewatch Cloverfield, because Cloverfield's a fantastic movie.
And 10 Cloverfield Lane.
10 Cloverfield Lane.
10 Cloverfield Lane is so good because you don't know what the terror is. There's
Right.
two different types in it.
Right. And you should go back and rewatch those. That's my rec.
I totally agree. Okay, so...
You want to plug our pluggables?
Yep, we're going to plug our pluggables. Thank you for listening to this. Please, if you haven't already, please rate and review on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on any podcast platform. And if you can't, please reach out to us if you would rather not listen to it on Spotify or Apple. Because I'll go and put us on the weirdest third-party providers. You can find us on Instagram. If you're not following us, please go follow us. We are Instagram.com/facingoffpod. And we're on Twitter as well. We're at facingoffpod. And then please give us some feedback. Let us know how you rate these movies. None of you guys have done that so far. We would love to see an email. You could say mean things to me. I gotta say this all the time. Send us an email.
Send us hate mail.
facingoffpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to, you can follow me too. I'm at Gabe_Siegel on Instagram. And yeah, or you can follow Nick on Twitter if you want to.
You could.
And so that's
It
it.
wouldn't be very interesting for you, but you could.
Do you have a send-off, Nick?
Oh!
It's beautiful.